I slam on the brakes and it's like, boom, hit the back of this car. Hello guys, welcome to the Rochester Wrenches YouTube channel. Today it's time to tell y'all a story that I've neglected to tell y'all for a long time. Now, it's no secret that I'm not the best driver. This thing cost me $475, man. It's done. I crashed this car twice, man. Like the whole freaking, oh man. Oh shoot. This is bad. This is freaking bad, man. This 2007 Chevy Malibu, you see this right here? I rammed right into somebody.
The standstill traffic, that's just the way the highway is designed. You're not even able to see the traffic right in front of you.
I've never been a good driver. Never been a good driver.
Never been a good driver.
It's one of those things where it's like, once you start doing something a certain way, you just stay doing it that way. It's like, you know, man, whatever. Now this story happened during a period of time when I stopped making YouTube videos. It was just one of those times when I just stopped. This happened back when I had this black truck. I was on my way to go buy a car, actually, because I wanted to go get a car to flip. So I had my truck, I had my tow dolly on the back of it. The reason the story is kind of funny is because the tires I had on the truck at the time, it was before I replaced the tires. So the tires on there were completely bald. When I say bald, I'm gonna show a picture up here of what it kind of looked like. It was so bald, the belts were showing, you know, it was bad. And it's all this stop and go traffic on, you know, on the highway. All this stop and go, stop and go. So you really gotta be paying attention. You can't be using your phone on the gauge cluster. Now, at this time, I was sort of driving by an on-ramp kind of thing. Same thing, it's still stop and go, stop and go. I wasn't using my phone, but I had the GPS up there. You know what I'm saying? And I was also looking at my gauge cluster all the time. That truck had sketchy oil pressure, man. So I had to keep my eye on that oil pressure gauge at all times. Like, y'all have no idea. You know, that truck had 261,000 miles. I had to get rid of that thing, man. I'm going down that interstate. Stop and go, stop and go. Like, I'm going into the city, right? All of a sudden, when I'm passing this on-ramp, right when I'm sort of going that place where the cars are coming in, I stop, I sort of glance, I look down at my gauge cluster. I was either looking at the GPS up there, or I was looking at the gauge cluster. I wasn't texting or anything like that. And all of a sudden, I look back up, and there was a car in front of me, and I saw the brake lights just blaring, man. The brake lights were just blaring, man. I'm like, oh shoot. I'm like, oh shoot. Remember, I got bald tires in the back. The tires are so bald. The belts, like the actual steel belts are showing on the tire, man. It's pretty funny. I slam on the brakes and it's like, boom, hit the back of this car. It was a 2010 Subaru Legacy. I got blessed big time after this whole deal. So pretty much no damage to my truck. It was like a little dent in the chrome front bumper. I pull over to the side of the road. There's like construction and all this stuff going on. There's rush hour traffic. People are honking and stuff, you know, trying to get by us and things like that. And so I get out of my car. You know, I'm an honorable guy. I don't do this hit and run kind of things, you know. Remember, I'm on my way to buy a car from somebody. So I got cash with me, man. I got cash with me. Usually when I crash into people, because I've crashed into people in the past, and usually when I crash into people, my first step is just to offer to pay them cash if I know it's my fault, and so we can be done with it. I don't want to involve insurance, man. The thing about insurance is I don't want them hiking up my premium. The only reason I have insurance is because the government requires us to. You know, when you're registering a vehicle and when you get pulled over, you know, you have to have your insurance, you know, things like that. Usually when I crash into people, I try to pay them cash. If I don't have cash on me, I say, let's just go to a bank over there and, you know, I give you, you know, a couple $100 or whatever you need to fix your car. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm an honorable guy. I don't crash into somebody and get the hell out of there. So I'm like, can I pay you cash? And I already saw, like, she's all shaken up and all this. She's like, oh, man, like, I gotta call the cops. This isn't even my car. Like, oh man, she wasn't even driving her own car, man. I think it was her father's car or something. Here's what happened. She called the state police, the state troopers. So they sent some troopers down to where we were to get our statements and all that stuff. So this is how I got blessed, man. The dent in my front bumper was on the front right corner. Now, mind you, I was driving in the right lane. She was merging into my lane from the ramp. So I have the right of way, right? So I look down at my gauge cluster, I look at the GPS or something. Once I look up, she's like almost like right into me. And because it's all this stop and go, like she kind of like squeezes in and slams on the brakes, right? It takes me a little while to gather all this up and things like that. You know, obviously I don't tell them I was looking at my GPS. Now, I neglected to tell her, and the police didn't note this either. The tires were completely bald and on the back of my truck. And secondly, I was pulling a tow dolly. So, and mind you, I'm driving the big Chevy truck, a Chevy Silverado 2500. You're talking a 6,000 pound gross weight. Not up to 6,000 pounds, but you know, less than that, I would think. But anyway, I skidded so far before I actually hit the woman. Anyway, so I tell them all this. I'm like, yeah, you know, she got in front of me. I got this big truck. You can see how big it is. Like, there's no way I can just stop right away. A couple days later, the insurance people called me. I filed with my insurance. You know, she filed with hers and they called me. And yeah, same thing. Long story short, even though I was the one not paying attention, the accident was ruled in my favor, all right? It wasn't 100% in my favor. Like, I didn't get money out of the deal. 70% in my favor and 30% against her. They basically said, yeah, it was your right of way. She shouldn't have, you know, squeezed in and then slammed on the brakes. But at the same time, you should have been, you know, paying attention to the road. Anyway, it's fine. It's, you know, it's a long time later now. This happened, mind you, this happened in July when this happened. So it wasn't like the road was snowy or had ice on it or something like that. So the accident was ruled in my favor and my insurance premium did not go up, which was really my goal. I wasn't trying to get money out of the deal. There was barely any damage to my vehicle. If anything, I kind of feel bad for her because, I mean, her back bumper cover was crushed, man. Like, the back of her car was crushed, but I was like, sheesh, you know? Like, I could have paid you, I could have paid her, but you know, she wanted to call the cops, so that's just what happens, you know. So me, I don't like dealing with the government. I don't like calling the police. Nothing productive ever happens with that. It's all good. My insurance premium didn't go up, and that's really my goal, man. That's the reason why I buy cheap cars, man, just for the insurance, man. Like, I can afford a more expensive car. I've had more expensive cars before. But guess what? I end up coming back to the old Hondas, man, these old cars, man, because the insurance is that's just cheap. That's where it's at, man. I'm not trying to be spending $200, over $200 on insurance when I can keep the old cars, you know what I'm saying? I ended up buying the car that I was going to buy. I was just a little bit late, obviously. Bought it, flipped it, made a couple bucks. Now, the value that you'll get from hearing this story that y'all know now, y'all need to get a dash cam. Y'all need to get you a dash cam, man. You cannot take no chances, man, because, you know what I'm saying, if things didn't go the right way, like, for example, like me, my story matched up with the evidence, you know what I'm saying? The evidence was that my bumper cover, my front bumper was hit on the front right side. I was in the right lane. She was coming in from on the on-ramp, and the damage was on her the left side of her back bumper cover, which means that she wasn't fully established into my lane. That's what the official document says. So the evidence lined up with my story. In the end of the day, you know, I won. I didn't really win. I just didn't lose. I also have another story about that same truck I had. I feel like that truck just had bad luck or something, but I have another story about that truck that I'm gonna upload at a later date. So, and that's gonna bring people a lot more value, man. It's way more interesting. And that one is way more embarrassing too. It's so embarrassing. I'm gonna tell y'all more about that truck. Anyway, as always, I'm grinding. I hope y'all are doing the same. You all stay strong, stay healthy, and stay inspired. I'm out. Peace.